This is a topic that has the potential to get some of y'all mad, but the thing is, I'm not too sure how upset the general consensus is going to be. We're going to talk about the Calgary Flames, and we're going to talk about the Buffalo Sabres, and a trade idea that links a very high-profile defenseman with a very high-profile young player. And depending on how you believe these guys are going to perform in the next few years, how you believe their importance is to their teams right now, it's going to shape whether or not you view this idea as a good one. But today we're talking about the Buffalo Sabres and their need for defense. And it all starts out with what Jeff Marek said on his show earlier this week. Take a look at the quote here from NHL Watcher. "I'm on the firm belief that the Buffalo Sabres are in on every defenseman, whether it's impending UFAs or Calgary Flames superstar Noah Hanifin." Now, let's talk about the Hanifin situation here in Calgary. He's 26 years old, 6'3", 216. He's a very good defender. Last season, he had 38 points in 81 games played. The season before that, 48 points in 81 games played. The interesting thing about Hanifin is that he was drafted back in 2015 as more of a shutdown, brick wall type of defenseman who had really good athleticism and some offensive potential. You weren't drafting Hanifin because you thought you were getting the next Erik Karlsson, 70, 80 points a season, but because Noah Hanifin projected to being a top 2, minutes-eating, defensively minded defenseman who could pitch in offensively once in a while. This was going to be your rock. And so, for Hanifin to develop in the ways that he did, he became that rock, he became a solid minutes-munching defenseman. It's been very good for him, and the Calgary Flames are reaping all the benefits as a result. However, the thing with Hanifin is that he expires next year. His contract goes on till 23-24, and he's making $4.95 million a year. That's a really good dollar amount for the services that Hanifin is able to provide. And so, when you talk about the Calgary Flames and their situation, this is Frank Seravalli's trade targets board from yesterday. It goes over why Hanifin could even be on the trade market here. The early indication, at least for the time being, is that new GM Craig Conroy is gauging the market on Hanifin in the event that the Boston native chooses not to sign an extension in Calgary. To our knowledge, there's been no firm or final decision made on that position just yet. But given Conroy's edict at his initial press conference, wow, edict? Come on, Frank Seravalli, you don't gotta be pulling out complicated words like that. The Flames want proper asset management on any player heading into the last year of his deal, wanting to avoid that player walking for nothing as a free agent, a la Johnny Gaudreau. Hanifin's game has grown by leaps and bounds in Calgary, recognized as a defenseman whose value is significantly above his current cap hit. And so Hanifin being on the market is not because he's a bad player or that the Flames want to get rid of him, it's all just a precaution. It's saying, hey, just in case this guy does not want to come back, we don't want to lose him out for nothing, so we're going to explore our options, see what's out there, and ultimately have a backup plan. Just in case. And it's difficult to find fault in that sort of thought process, especially for a new GM that's trying to make his name known and trying to correct all the wrongs of the previous regime. Not that there were too many wrongs, honestly. I think Brad Treliving did a pretty good job in building the team the way that he did. It's just, he's not there anymore. And so this is where we go over to the Buffalo Sabres, because as we had said, Jeff Marek believes the Sabres are in on Noah Hanifin trade conversations. And to expand on this further, we're going over onto an article on The Athletic. Take a look at this. It was from yesterday, published by Julian McKenzie. So this is the Flames beat writer going out there. Noah Hanifin trade proposals. 5 potential destinations for the Flames defenseman. As always, link is going to be in the description if you want to go ahead and read this yourself. But the part that we care about, at least in the context of this video, was posted onto the Buffalo Sabres subreddit. It was posted by Seal Dodger 47, and there's a summary made in the comment section regarding Buffalo. Let's take a look at what it has to say. The Sabres are knocking on the door of playoff contention status and could use some reinforcements to solidify that status. One of their needs is a top 4 defenseman, and if they acquire a left shot defenseman, they could have them on a separate pair and have Rasmus Dahlin and Owen Power play together, as they did at times last season. For our first mock deal, I discussed possibilities with Sabres reporter Matthew Fairburn. We considered a deal with defensive prospect Ryan Johnson, but the Sabres just signed into an ELC. Honestly, once Peyton Krebs, who is a Calgary native, was mentioned as an option, the framework for a potential deal became clear. So, if Hanifin is committed to signing in Buffalo long-term, which isn't always a guarantee, this is the trade proposal they have. Peyton Krebs and Buffalo's 13th overall pick for Noah Hanifin and Calgary's 16th overall pick. That's a pretty even trade proposal, in my opinion. Like, my immediate instinctual reaction is like, that's actually not all too bad. Regardless, the Sabres are high on Krebs after the season he just had. He's adjusted well, playing a more defensive role in the fourth line, and still has a ton of scoring upside. I don't think they'd be eager to move a player who is well-liked in the room and still has a lot of potential, but this would be a unique case because the Sabres would be sending him to his hometown of Calgary. The return would be strong too. They'd only be moving down a few spots in the draft and get a top-4 defenseman to pair with Power. Working out a long-term deal with Hanifin might be tricky with the big deals coming in for Power and Dahlin soon, but Hanifin would be a big upgrade for their blue line and would have some familiarity with Don Granato from the US NTDP and Alex Tuch from their time at Boston College. This is what Sabres reporter Matthew Fairburn said about this trade idea. And while it is true that both of these teams would be giving up on assets that they probably would not prefer to get rid of, Buffalo is a big fan of Peyton Krebs. I know y'all fans that are always tuning into these videos, you guys love Krebs too. They love the work ethic, they love the defensive responsibility, they like the upside, they like the playmaking, because this guy has a few really nice passes once in a while. But solidifying that decor with a top 4 of, let's say, Power, Dahlin, Hanifin, and whoever else sounds like a pretty good idea. And Hanifin, if you're able to sign this guy for a long-term deal, would be just an absolute stud on the back end. Imagine what he could teach as a big, shutdown defenseman to a guy like Owen Power. That's your mentor right there. That's a pairing, not necessarily on the ice, but a pairing in terms of the bonding that could really benefit Power's long-term development. Add to this the Rover-style defenseman in Rasmus Dahlin, and you're setting yourself up for success. Sure, it comes at the price of a young prospect in Peyton Krebs who has really developed well over the past few years, but it's not that bad of an outcome sending him over to Calgary, where he, of course, is familiar, he's grown up there, and the Calgary Flames need some prospects anyway, so this could be a pretty interesting acquisition. Add to this the trading down in the draft. Of course, the picks are not too far apart, it's only 3 spots ahead, but the Calgary Flames getting a little bit higher up there in the 2023 draft also entices them to maybe get rid of Hanifin, who is a player they might have been able to get rid of anyway, depending on if he wanted to re-sign. So realistically, I'm not normally too much of a fan of these mock trades that come in, especially when everybody's just tossing out ideas there. Oh, Hanifin to this team, Hanifin to that team. This is one that I like. I kind of like this for both sides here. It fulfills needs that both of these teams have. The value of the prospects or the players and the assets involved is not unequal, and just a stylistic fit for both of these assets going to their opposite teams. It makes sense in my mind. But the question is, does it make sense in yours? If you're a Buffalo Sabres fan, what are your opinions about the idea of trading away Peyton Krebs and getting Hanifin in return? I'll tell you this right here. The comment section on this our Sabres hockey post or Reddit post, it's a little bit up and down. Some of y'all are saying fair deal, others are saying, yeah, I would do this. We got too many guys that are in the similar development stage as Krebs. There's another concern asking if the top 4 is all going to be left-handed guys, which is a fair concern to have, but when you're a team like Buffalo, where you have guys like Dahlin who kind of just move around the offensive zone wherever they want anyway, it doesn't really matter. Preference for handiness is only really there because it's easier to collect pucks on the boards, and for guys that are good, you don't really need to have that solidification there since they could just move and adjust themselves, but either way, if you're a Buffalo Sabres fan, what are your thoughts about acquiring Noah Hanifin for a guy like Peyton Krebs and moving down in the draft in the process by only 3 spots? If you're a Calgary Flames fan, what are your thoughts on getting Peyton Krebs for a guy whom you might have to trade away anyway? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Juraj, and bye.